Welcome to the first Manhattan Holistic Chamber of Commerce webinar. I'm Carissa, and I will be your host and moderator. Our mission at the Manhattan Holistic Chamber of Commerce is to support our members with opportunities to heal personally, grow professionally, and build community. Our intention is to provide our members with a meaningful experience that delivers value to their business and them personally. We are committed to providing an environment for developing beneficial business relationships, delivering outstanding resources like this panel, and nurturing collaborative partnerships like what we're doing now. The topic of our webinar today is peace. How to facilitate peace within you and your clients. Again, my name is Carissa Brennan. I created Cloud Counseling, providing an innovative approach to therapy that better fits into our busy lifestyles. I will be moderating this webinar. I am a licensed psychotherapist and certified online counselor based in Manhattan. Let me introduce our three panelists. We have Krista Gestezi. Krista is a licensed brain gym instructor and spiritual director. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you very much, Carissa. I'm very happy to be here. And as you said, I'm a licensed brain gym instructor and a certified spiritual director. And what I do is work with clients to help them integrate their body, mind, and spirit for optimal living.
Thank you. And we have Julian Michael. Julian joins the panel as a hypnotherapist.
Yes, Julian Michael. I'm glad to be here, Carissa. It's a pleasure. Hypnotherapist, as well as a past life regressionist, alternative therapist, numerologist, Reiki master, and I optimize creativity, productivity, prosperity in people's lives.
Thank you. And finally, we have Elizabeth Carpenter. Elizabeth is a professor, writer, and international speaker. Elizabeth, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Carissa. It is definitely a privilege and a pleasure to be part of this panel. Thanks for having me. I have been in private practice with Chinese medicine and acupuncture as my home base since 1998. And of course, since then, the practice has developed substantially. At this point, I would characterize my practice as integrative holistic healthcare for women. Meaning, I work with women on physical issues that are ranging from irritable bowel and migraines to hormone regulation and infertility, menopause transition, etc. But tonight's topic is a significant part of nearly every woman's care in my clinic because confidence issues, stress, and this strange sense of overwhelm and anxiety are utterly pervasive. So that is always a part of everybody's care because we all deserve a joy-filled life.
Thank you so much for being here, you guys. So my first question, and again, our topic for this webinar is peace. What is this thing we're calling internal peace? I think we're going to go through this question, Julian, Elizabeth, and Krista. So I'm curious, again, the question is, what is this thing we're calling internal peace?
Internal peace is a frame of mind, body, and spirit where the person owns themselves to a point where they feel confident, they feel secure, they feel powerful, and they feel that they're ready and able to do whatever they need to do. To find that place, it's very important to surrender to that place of peace, which I feel is that place of no space and no time, which we all live in. And to be in that place, it's very important to be aware of all the programs, life patterns, not only from our own lives, but the programs that are all around us. from society, education, religion, government, all different peoples. So it's very important to understand and know how to be in that place within yourself, in the now, and be totally free of all of those programs and patterns. And to do that, it takes work. And the work is doing spiritual practices of some sort in regards to cleaning yourself of any kind of anger, stress, whatever's going on in your life, in order for you to be free and able to create miracles.
Wow, that was incredible to even just listen to. Thank you, Julian.
Well, do we even need the panel? I mean, I think you covered it all, Julian. I think that's, it's Elizabeth here.
And up next we have Elizabeth. What is this thing we're calling internal peace?
I love this question. I think it is a great question. Of course, Julian has really just given us the panorama there. And in some ways, this is an unanswerable question. It's been the quest of every spiritual path, meditation path, religion, as ever since humans have progressed beyond survival needs. And it's also the province of medical science. And in my practice, I'm always looking how those things can go hand in hand. What are we learning from medical science to help us unpack what we already know instinctually and what we know from our spiritual practice? And like Julian said, it's how all of this is coming together that rids us of these habitual patterns that are getting in the way of our birthright, which is this joy. And that actually brings us to Chinese medicine. And Chinese medicine is probably one of the better known, acupuncture and Chinese medicine are probably one of the better known of the mind, body, spirit alternative medicines that is also sort of colliding with medical science in a well-explored way. So in Chinese medicine, if we go back to the Tao and the premise on which the medicine proceeds from, we learned that through the teachings of the classics that it's all about the heart. Peace is all about the heart, and one of the geniuses of Chinese medicine is that it uses these poetic metaphors to make common sense out of complex stuff. And so what Chinese medicine is very effectively discussing as the heart as the emperor, the heart as the center or the seat of consciousness, is what medical science and HeartMath is talking about as coherence, this state in which our hormones, our nervous systems, our minds, our thoughts are all in synchronicity.
So there's a modern approach to a very historical quest of finding peace.
And we use heart metaphors all the time for peace. My heart feels broken. My heart's not in it. I'm so stressed I could have a heart attack over it. So we already know this. We've forever, through spirituality and common life, we know it's coming from our hearts, and there's really science that shows us how the heart informs the brain, and then the brain informs the body, and that's when we get these hormonal and nervous system experiences that we call stress or lack of peace.
And what a great transition into the brain. Krista, what is this thing called internal peace?
So I'm so glad you brought that up about the connection with the brain. Well, firstly, I wanted to comment on both of what Elizabeth and Julian had said. Julian's point about being free of these programs and patterns, and Elizabeth's point about joy leads right into the idea of balance. And this is something that I do with my clients. The idea is to help them go through a balance in which we use different movements from the Brain Gym program, as well as practices from formative spirituality. And what ends up happening is that through this balance, you basically create new pathways, new neural connections that help you become essentially undisturbed by the circumstances that tend to affect you in your life and challenge you in your life. And it is this idea of feeling that, and sensing and living all of your emotions, but not letting them consume you. So when you're at peace, you're centered, you're grounded, you are who you are, and you're in yourself. And basically what this brings about is that it actually makes me reflect a lot on Horatio Spafford. He was a real estate developer who went through many crises in his life, and from those crises he created the lyrics to the song "It Is Well With My Soul." And so when I think of peace and internal peace, I think of just that. Whatever is happening, it is well with my soul.
You know, I recite that to myself. I actually sing that to myself sometimes as a self-calming almost mantra. I mean, there's so many mantras from so many traditions, and I like many of them. And from the Christianity tradition, it's Christianity, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, from the Christianity tradition, I love that one.
Yeah,
and
it
walk
works.
down the street singing it to myself.
It's a good go-to. It works.
And the heart is the seat of the soul in many sacred texts. And when you are in that heart space, you are in that space of infinite knowledge, infinite power, infinite love, and then you have access to everything and everyone.
And you know, what you just said reminded me also of the act of detachment. So when you are accessing your higher power and you're connected in other ways more deeply, it is because you're detached to what's around you and what's affecting you here. Yeah.
And the connection is with the what is.
Exactly.
In the classics of Chinese medicine, which they talk, the sages of old, talk to us about when the heart is settled, when the heart is at peace, the Shen descend. The Shen is the spirit, it is our higher wisdom. So that's the concept of intuition and all-knowing that comes to us from a quiet heart.
So, Elizabeth, you mentioned kind of as you're walking down the street singing this to yourself. That is kind of a great segue to our next question. And as a practitioner, how do you help clients integrate knowledge, skills, peace into their lives between sessions? What kind of additional support do you offer? And so again, I'm asking this question to you, Elizabeth, and then I'd like to go to Krista and then Julian.
Okay, great. So how do we help our clients integrate in between our own sessions with them? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So in my practice, part of the session itself is learning skills and gaining tools that they're going to be able to use on their own, and I generally will offer homework. And that sounds like, oh my gosh, I have to do my homework. But the homework is actually very exciting because it's always sort of helping them have a more peaceful and a more joyful experience in their lives so that they can turn around these physical things and dump that sort of vague level of dissatisfaction and fear that's hanging over just about everybody these days. So they're getting direct tools, and that might be some Qigong exercises that are movement-based. It might be some ball therapy where they're doing self-acupressure passively while they're doing breathing exercises. They might have journaling homework. They might be following their dreams and then feeling what they're feeling in their body, so that we're going to talk about it next time. So there's this process that they're engaging with me even though we're not together, because they're getting ready. And part of that is an accountability thing, but it's also a holding that space for them every day, that as they are working through or using the tools and doing the advice or the action steps in between the sessions, they're not only growing and enriching themselves, but they are getting ready to share that. Another thing is that everybody has a nutrition plan and usually some kind of herb or supplement plan. So they're beginning to have different inputs that are really going to change them physiologically. And mind, body, spirit, you can come in it from any direction and the other two are going to be enhanced, right? So that's that. And then they have access through the patient portal. They can also call the office and let me know that they want my attention, and we can schedule a call or something like that. They can email in and get some kind of very timely response. So that's how I do it in my practice.
Okay, so it's a holistic approach, including technology, even, with communication.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And self-technologies.
Krista, what kind of additional support do you offer your clients?
So basically, just to give you a little bit, I know acupuncture is so easily explained, everybody understands what it's like in a session. Very briefly, in a brain gym balance session, a client comes in with a particular goal. I typically work with people who experience severe stress and anxiety, so someone might come in to work on a goal such as to feel more relaxed when I'm at work or to trust myself more easily. And what happens during a session is we do a lot of muscle testing to determine where in the body the system needs some support. And then from there, we do some different brain gym movements and other activities that will support the person in achieving their goal to, for example, like I said, be able to trust yourself or feel more relaxed. After the session, or towards the end of the session rather, we then go back and do some muscle checking to see if, we don't call it homework, we call it home play.
You know what, I'm going to take that and run with it.
All right, well,
That's
make sure
great.
you credit.
I will credit you.
No, not me, Paul Dennison, the creator of Brain Gym, which is a great way to say it because it implies this idea that you're playing with it, because when we play with things, which is how we first started to learn in the beginning in childhood, we're already at a point of relaxation versus putting the stress of work, which I'm sure you can understand. So this home play is one component, and a second component that I offer is ongoing support. So my clients can access me whether it is on WhatsApp or texting or email or phone calls. It depends on their comfort level with technology. And then two other ways that I follow up with them is, one is reminders. So if they need to be reminded to do their home play, then I check in with them at a certain time of day that's most supportive for them. And the third one is Skype follow-up sessions, which are really great. So depending on their goal and the time that was needed for them to integrate their goal into their body, we check in via Skype and figure out how their home play needs to be adjusted.
Okay, so it's not a static process, it's dynamic. It's always changing.
Yes,
Great.
yes, and very supportive of their needs, and yes.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of additional support going on so far. Julian, how do you provide that additional support for clients to really integrate what you work on into their lives?
In the session, the person has just experienced their inner worlds. And in doing so, it's pretty much, it's more effective, I find, than prayer meditation, even though prayer meditation is fabulous. But here, they really connect with their subconscious cellular memory, DNA, and whom they really are on a deeper level, because we all have these computers within ourselves, and these computers are and have all the questions as well as all the answers to why we're here. So after that session, usually teaching them more about the dynamics and the secrets of breathing, as breathing is so important. And I find that just understanding your breath, inhale and exhale, that you can relax within seconds. So different breathing techniques, as well as where the person's breathing from. In working with scientists, parapsychologists, yogis for over 35 years, breathing from the stomach, abdomen, solar plexus is so much more powerful than breathing from the chest. As well as also dreams, as Elizabeth mentioned, very important. And diet, complementing them when they can on organic foods, as well as in the shampoos they use and soaps they use and all that, as well as availability where they can text and call me 24/7 and I'll get back to them in every which way. But most of all, also to realize that there's a lot of programs and life patterns out there, not only your own, but also your family, your friends, your boss, your lovers, and learn how to become detached, to be of this world and not of this world, and not taking it so seriously as you did before, and come from your place of peace, of love in your heart.
So I've noticed throughout each of your responses, there was this human connection. You guys are available to your clients. This isn't something that you are working with people on and then they're expected to go out and poof, everything will be better because they attended an appointment.
I think that's a broken medical model, that our community is it is alive in the sense that we're constantly creating it, and how are we doing it, and I think it's pretty clear that model doesn't work very well. Yeah.
It's teaching them that the oxygen that they breathe, that's their drug. And they don't really need anything else except understanding how powerful they are within themselves, and how to exhibit that, how to use that in your everyday physical life, and the tools that you have that are available for you.
And I think a big part of what each of us do is educate our clients. And I think that is the reason for the ongoing support, because not many people have learned, how to sense, how to notice, whether it's physical noticing, emotional noticing, or mental noticing. But it's a very big component, and then once you do, that empowers you, then your awareness empowers you to take action and be able to support yourself with what you need when you're going through a difficult situation. So education is key.
I think that's very true, but going back to also what Julian was just talking about, the flip side of that is also present. People are terrified to feel things. They're terrified of other people's impressions and patterns, and how does that match up with their own, and it creates a kind of static or conflict in their own fields and in their own self-trust. And that is a big part also of what we do, is helping people be within themselves in a way that they feel strong and authentic, so that they can ride the rough seas, because the seas are rough.
Right.
And that's an important thing, is to let go of this expectation that this is all rainbows and unicorns, and that we should always feel like rainbows and unicorns.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Feelings are a normal part of our experience, and it's coming, and here we go, and it's leading back to the heart. How do we keep coming back to the heart over and over again, so that we have that connection and mastery within?
And once you understand that, when you start the process, when you start this journey of awareness, the healing begins.
Absolutely.
And then everything starts falling in your lap, from experience with people, with books, and everything starts communicating to you in a totally different way, because now you're open to this perception.
So as
so
practitioners, how do you maintain that calm or peace in your own life? And how do you prepare yourself to be a facilitator of peace for your clients or your patients? Krista, that question is for you, and then Julian and Elizabeth.
Sure. Practice. I think the biggest thing that I notice with all great practitioners is that your daily practice is really a key component of creating your own life of facilitating peace for yourself. And so for me personally, I obviously do a lot of brain gym movements, and my daily practice consists of those movements, as well as daily scripture readings and quiet prayer where I'm in silence. and journaling. Journaling is a big component for me, for facilitating peace, and the quiet is very huge to settle my mind, settle my heart, and be still, and know that God is God, and I am not. And brain gym balances are other things that I do, which is I'll either do a session on myself, or I'll have another brain gym practitioner do a session on me, so that I can continue, as we just spoke about, breaking those patterns and creating new ones. And I also do make sure that I go on retreats and I receive spiritual direction. And before a session, to be able to center myself, the most important thing I do is actual balance for myself before that session. And again, maintaining my prayer and my silence, and being open, as we talked about, to the guidance that's going to occur in that session.
Mm-hmm. And you actually just came back from a retreat.
Yes, I did.
So you do practice self-care, and you do practice what you preach.
I absolutely do.
Julian, how do you maintain calm or peace in your own life? How do you prepare to be a facilitator of peace?
My morning practice is usually after brushing my teeth, coming back, and meditating and doing my prayers and any other physical exercises. Then usually having a good breakfast, a healthy breakfast. I also love to cook, so I am my own chef in many ways, and I usually love to cook things that are very healthy and organic. I'm very much in touch with my dreams, so while I'm doing whatever I'm doing after my prayers, meditations, I'm in touch with the dreams and accessing and seeing what serves me and what doesn't in regards to that particular day. I love music, so I might listen to some jazz, I might listen to some rock and roll, I might listen to some classical. It all depends on my taste at that moment. I also love the outdoors, so I connect and commune with the elements. I play tennis, as well as I love to walk, and I love to see people's smiles and laughter, and just connect with the colors of the day, not only in fashion, but from the sky to the trees to the flowers and everything around me. And I just feel that in embracing that, you become that, and that empowers you, fulfills you, and you're able to be in that place of peace and power, in that heart space of love.
And that's something I feel you're able to share with people on a daily basis, even through the Manhattan Holistic Chamber Facebook page. You post daily messages.
Pearls of the day.
Pearls of the day, thank you.
In regards to the birthday of the day, because every day is a birthday. So I take the vibrations, frequencies of that day, and I post a pearl of wisdom on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn.
And those
and
colors,
I've been doing that for years now.
is
it's
palpable.
Yeah, I feel it's very important to empower. And as therapists, we're here also to understand service in any which way, and use our gifts or talents and whatever they are. If we're singers or poets or musicians or whatever we do, taking that and sharing it with the people and showing people that they can do the same thing.
Abundance, sharing abundance breeds peace.
And that's prosperity. Prosperity is walking the healthy path. Yeah. So when you're in that space, then you are creating that energy. Yes.
Thank you. Elizabeth, how do you prepare yourself to be a facilitator of peace?
Well, I'm going to tag on to Julian's remarks for starters about sharing and sharing from the heart and being generous and shining. So the more, as Krista was talking about, we're sort of using our practices and using our own tools, the tools that we're helping others with, And we're bringing those into our lives, and we're building this huge heart field within ourselves, and then we share it out just in life, just in like being on the street, being in relationship, just going about the day. And that feeds back. It's called entrainment in science, how energy fields entrain one another. And that's extremely nourishing to me, to that feed that comes back. So I just wanted to remark on that. But, like Julian and Krista have both shared, it's basically the basics. It's meditation and spiritual reading every day, enriching my own mind. Where you are parking your mind is where you're going to go. Mm-hmm. So I feast on goodness, feast on what's beautiful, feast on things. I bracket the news, I bracket social media, I bracket availability. I do not have a 24/7 availability like most people. I really am more generous when I am more judicious with my own time. But I do all the same things that they're doing. I love to cook, and that gives me so much joy to make things that, it's going to be gone really soon. So I'm completely unattached to it. and prayer and all sorts of things. I use food as medicine, and it's just all about being in the flow of life and giving yourself the inputs that are going to make you a blessing to others are actually your biggest blessing. So
that was a nice, the both of you both touched on that idea of self-care and also of self-nourishment, and that is something, very important. And I recognize that recently, and I actually, that's where getting back in touch with going to the retreats, or even just making sure my workouts are something that bring me joy, and reading a good book, and like you said, turning off, and making sure that my time, and even Chris, I remember you mentioned that the other day at one of our Holistic Chamber of Commerce meetings about blocking off your time so that you're not overwhelmed, and you have time for yourself to enrich your life. I definitely agree with all that, especially with the cooking and reading and just being with friends.
Exercise. Everybody has mentioned exercise,
sure.
movement, dance, yoga,
and we have quite a few of these different ideas about nourishing ourselves, human contact,
also
having
massage.
contact. So
Massage.
I'm curious
massage.
if we can boil this down to one nugget of wisdom with holistic practitioners, thinking back on what you've learned through your practice of facilitating peace for your clients, what would that be? Julian, Elizabeth, and then Krista. If you could share one nugget of wisdom.
I learned a long time ago that when a client comes in, the client doesn't come alone. They come with their whole family, their friends, their problems, and everything. And you have to be prepared. You have to be in a space of your own power to be able to work with the client, because on another level this client, I feel, has, and it's been proven, invisible hands, and these invisible hands are taking energy from you, or trying to. So you need to know how to protect yourself and come from that place of power in order for you to radiate and illuminate and enforce like a field of energy that you're responsible in this power, and you're here to be of service and to help them understand how to be independent from all of these energies and come from your power.
So protecting that peace.
Very important.
Beautiful. Elizabeth.
Well, I couldn't agree more with Julian's remarks there. I think that is the key, is being in your own alignment with source, with wherever it is you feel connected through your heart to the place in which that treasure trove of how to help comes. When you're in that place and you've given it over, and you very consciously have given it over. I pray before I walk into any patient room, and then I give thanks in the room as I'm closing the door. And every single time, I mean, I might see 20-some people in a day, and so I don't know how many prayers that is, but it's like 80 to 100 prayers a day, right? And it's just always reminding myself where I am, and I think that that's the key is that you are using, you're just asking to be of service, and that one prayer and that one commitment to your own power, to your own alignment, is what offers the juice to everybody else and feeds you back, because you're just gonna hear, know, see, feel, and intuit absolutely everything that you need to be of the highest service, and that there is just nothing more renewing. I hear a lot of practitioners talk about getting drained and getting other people's energy on. This is the key in my mind, or in my experience, is that nothing gets on you that way. You will have the biggest, most open, most compassionate heart, and you will absolutely be Teflon. So that's my nugget.
Love it. Thank you. And Krista.
Well, you both basically touched on it. It has a lot to do with, and I think we touched on it throughout our conversation today. It's really about self-care. I mean, you know how they, when you get on the airplane, they tell you if the cabin pressure drops, you know, put the oxygen mask on you first, or else you won't be able to attend to anyone else. And so when you speak of service, Elizabeth, you know, part of that service, you have to be able to care for yourself before you can serve anybody else, right? And if that nourishment and that power is coming from God and coming from other sources for you to be able to tap into it, and even coming from your own joy, you know, you have to really nourish your heart to be able to have that space where you're so happy, or you're finding ways to make yourself, you know, happy. Not to say that we're happy all the time, to speak to what you said earlier, Elizabeth, but the idea is our care for others is only as good as our care for ourselves. So that would be my nugget.
And you know that there's just one more thing that actually I do think a couple of people tapped into, is learning. I think learning is really key. Just constantly immersing yourself with there's always a teacher, there's always there's so many. It's not just our patients and our clients that are teaching us, or our the spiritual masters, or the texts, or whatever. It's our fields, and it's anything we're curious about, and following your curiosity and constantly engaging, I think, is a really huge key to joyful, successful practice over the decades, or for however long you decide to practice. It's just this incredible fuel.
And that fuel is for yourself, and that's for the ambiance that you're creating, and
for what you can do
and
to help
also what you're doing. But also, again, when you're coming from that place of illumination, you're accessing the what is, and you just have faith and trust that it's going to be fine, because it is fine.
It is.
Beautiful. Well, I trust this was as helpful and valuable for you as it was for me. I think one of our greatest takeaways is just how important it is to facilitate inner peace and help clients or patients claim well-being and health. So we've recorded this webinar, and it will be available to everyone who registered. Actually, as a thank you, you'll also receive a handout with our gems, the most valuable takeaways from our panelists, along with their contact information. So thank you to our wonderful panelists for sharing so much wisdom, and thank you to our guests for sharing this experience with us. The Manhattan Holistic Chamber of Commerce has incredible panels and speakers each month at our meetings. And to join us, and for you to be spotlighted on a panel, please contact me, Carissa, at holistichealp4u@yahoo.com. That's holistichealp, the number 4, the letter U, @yahoo.com. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Carissa.
Thank you, Carissa.
Thanks, Krista.